Hi everyone, I am back with another episode of PMP Exam Prep Power Hour. This one is our episode 33, and we are focusing on predictive life cycle today with the help of a topic around risk management. But other than that, if you have any specific query related to your PMP preparation, project management, just bring it here and I will try my best to explore along with you. If you are watching us on LinkedIn, you can just type in the comment area wherever you see this particular event going live, and that message will reach us. If you are watching us on YouTube, that also the same process, you can put in a comment section, the live chat section, and this live chat will reach me and we will talk about your queries. So I am Saket Bansal. I am your facilitator for today's session, and we explore around risk management topic. The usual format is I take a one topic, I talk about it, then we probably explore question and answer around that topic to start with, and then we go further. If you have any other queries related to project management, we explore that. PMP certification is our primary focus, but we can go beyond PMP certification also. We can talk about some of the generic queries in case they make relevance for you. Yeah. So we have a question to start with. I think we can start with a question. We can change little sequence here. So the question is coming, are ITTO important to remember? The answer is definitely no. Yeah, not at all. You don't even have to remember the name of the process. Forget about input tools and techniques and output. Or even if you don't have to remember the total count of the processes. 49 processes in PMBOK 6 or process guide, you don't have to remember it. You probably don't have to remember what is initiating process, what is planning process, what is monitoring and control process. You don't have to remember all that. What you need to remember from a predictive life cycle or understand from a predictive life cycle is understanding of the artifacts. If I talk about risk management plan, you should understand what is a risk management plan and how it helps me in doing project management. When I talk about risk register, you should understand what is the content of the risk register. You don't have to remember where all risk register goes as an input. You don't have to remember where all risk register may get updated, which all processes update risk register. Please don't spend that much energy. The predictive life cycle is anyway coming very small in the PMP exam, and just understanding the artifacts and the flow is good enough not to go into processes and ITTO. Yeah. So that's a starting question to start with, and then we'll take more queries as we move forward. Yeah. So I go with talking about risks to start with, and then we take your queries as we move forward. So let's start with understanding what is risk. So most of you who are generically doing project management understand the risk is an uncertain event which has a consequences. From a PMP perspective, we can say risk is an uncertain event which may have a positive or negative impact. So that's a little trick. Positive impact thing, uncertain event thing is also called risk. So we can say the risk are two types. They are opportunities or threats. You can say positive risk or negative risk. Why they are put together? Because they are uncertain event. Sometimes same event may be positive at some extent and negative at some extent. In that case, I will create two items in my risk register. One is a positive impact one and another is a negative impact one, because I need to track the event in a different manner at both the places. But this is how we define a risk. Keep in mind, it's an uncertain event, which means there might be a rain tomorrow which can impact my project schedule, outdoor activity. Then it's a risk. It is raining right now and I can't do an outdoor activity. It is not a risk. It's an issue which I need to deal with. So risk is always proactive. You are thinking about what can go wrong, what event can happen, and you are focusing as a project manager how I manage impact of those issues, those events, rather than events on my project, so that we can achieve our project objective. So I'm thinking about rain which can happen tomorrow, and I'm thinking about what should I do if it rains and how do I manage my project objective, and that is what I am doing as a risk management. So it's an uncertain event, which means it has a probability attached to it, and it has an impact. Impact could be multi-dimensional impact. There could be a cost impact, schedule impact, quality impact, motivation impact. There could be multiple ways of looking at those impacts. Now, the another important thing is not all risks are looked in a same view. Yeah, you can say as a project manager, I always have a limited energy. So I need to prioritize which risk is more important for me, and I need to prioritize it based on the overall ranking, which I do with the help of impact and probability. So that's a brief introduction about what is risk. Now, once we start getting into the details of the risk in a PMP exam process as well, we get introduced to something called risk management plan. So out of various subsidiary plan, which you learn in our PMP space, like communication, requirement management, scope management, quality management, procurement management plans, etc., etc. There are so many plans here. I believe few plans are very important and they are usually formal. And few, like one of them is a risk management plan, another is a communication management plan. Usually I see that's a formal documented plan. I usually see a quality management plan also formally documented. These three plans in my experience I see usually formally documented, others could be informally documented. So risk management plan is a relatively a comprehensive plan because we want to make sure we have a common understanding about what kind of risk needs to be given attention to, how do we quantify the magnitude of the risk, what kind of risk requires escalation, what kind of risk need to be just monitored, what is the overall approach, what method we will use. We need to have an agreement about it. And organization will have their own standard practices which tells how should we manage risk management related activities in our projects. So organization will guide us, and on top of that organizational guidance we can customize, tailor, and we come up with our approach for managing the risk which we agree in a risk management plan. Can it be informal? Yes, it can be. If you are not doing much tailoring and you are following various standards and recommendation as it is, which is given by the organization, then you probably don't create a separate artifact for your project. It's a possibility. But for a PMP exam perspective, you will go with most likely it's a formal documented artifact. Now, just to support your learning, some of you who follow me on LinkedIn, you might have seen. So I have prepared a document for you, which I shared sometime back on our social media space, and you might have seen it. So this particular document was there, and if you have not seen it, you probably want to follow me on LinkedIn and get this particular document. From my side, I try to make it as comprehensive as possible, and I believe if you just go through this risk management plan, you probably get to know whatever is needed to be known for PMP exam for risk related topics. So it's a pretty detailed example oriented document which helps you in understanding what is risk management plan. You can locate the URL. I will put the URL in the comment on LinkedIn as well as on YouTube. But yeah, if you are following me, then you probably already have it. So that's a risk management plan to start with. Okay, so moving forward after 2 points, understanding of something called risk register. Now, say there could be 100 things which can go wrong, but not necessarily all 100 things need to be recorded and reported and tracked. So out of those things, some of them I need to worry about, and I will put them into an inventory and we put it in a risk register. Which are those some? Guided by my risk management plan. So say there is a possibility you are planning something and you have a risk somebody may take unscheduled leave, okay, or somebody may not come on time tomorrow, okay. Now, do we need to track all those risks? If you have a 20 people, you may have an everyday risk that people may come late. Yeah, everyday risk. You can say I can have a recurring risk. So as a project manager, you will just making a list of the risk. There will be no other job. And your management will also say, what are you doing? All these kind of uncertainty we need to deal with. There are some amount of uncertainty. We need to assume that there will be something and we will track it as we go along. We don't need documentation for that. But there could be some uncertainties which are having higher impact, which we really want to have a track of it. And for those kind of uncertain events, we create an artifact where we record all our identified worth enough risks and we put them in a risk register. So risk register, you can visualize it. It's a kind of an Excel sheet which may have a ID, risk name, risk description, and important parameters like it has a probability. So you need to have a judgment how probable this risk is about to occur. This judgment will be guided by your risk management plan. What kind of ranking you should put. It will have an impact. We can have this probability and impact will get updated by way of doing risk assessment. Qualitative and quantitative, we'll talk about that. It may have other information like what is the symptom which we see before the risk is occurring, sometimes known as a risk trigger. So that will be also mentioned there. There could be things like when we are adding this risk, when we have reviewed this risk last time, who is the person who is keeping eye on this risk. So these kind of columns will be there. So as a project manager, I understand the risk register is an important artifact where I inventorized all these risks, and we keep reviewing them on a periodic basis. Some high priority risk or a high ranked risk, I probably need to talk to my stakeholder as well in various management reviews, but risk register is a place where I put it. Now somebody will say, do I mandatorily have a risk register? So from a predictive life cycle, the answer is yes. From a PMP exam perspective, from the adaptive or hybrid life cycle, it could be. Yeah? So you need to be a little vigilant about it. You don't have to mandatorily look for a risk register. There could be something else, maybe a risk log or risk list, something like that possible. Usually, if risk list, risk log is also present and risk register is also present, you assume that risk register is more structured storage of risk, but others are less structured. They may be just talking about various status and may not have all those details. So usually risk list is considered as a subset of risk register, and risk log is usually a status update, like when the risk was raised, when it was resolved, not a strategic info, but just like an audit trail of various risk activity. Those kind of word we can attach with the log. So usually you look for a risk register for your thing. So you don't have to remember that there is a identified risk process, and as an output of it, I get a risk register. You get a risk register as a summary of all identified risk. Now, from where you can identify risk? From anywhere. You keep looking at your documents, you keep talking to your stakeholders, you keep analyzing the environmental situation, you may keep having your assumptions listed, and you keep probably forecasting, are these assumptions can go wrong? All these things will be triggering to a risk. Some team member may give you an input that there could be an uncertain event. You need to track all those things in a risk register. Yeah, so that's something you do. Now, after having your risk register, I can't put the same attention to all the risk in a one manner. I need to create segmentation. I need to identify which risks are more important, which risks are less important. There are other topics also attached here. Maybe if we have a risk category, risk breakdown structure and all. So I'm not bringing all those here, else the session will become around 3.5 hour session. We are running a 3.5 hour session only on risk next week. In case some of you want to participate, very nominal price. So that will be a focused topic only on risk. But here I'm giving a summary which can be covered in 15 to 20 minutes. That's the idea. So after having a risk register, then you go to a second step, and we call it assessment. Let's look at the judgment of how complicated these risks are, how critical these risks are. So you do qualitative and quantitative assessment. Sometimes people get confused about these two words as well. So most of the projects which are not dealing in a very critical compliance-oriented environment might do a subjective assessment of how probable this risk is and how much impact it can make. Now, whenever you are making subjective decisions, you may use numbers. You may use a number between 1 to 5 or 0.1 to 0.9 to predict a predictive probability, but the foundation of those numbers are subjective. It's an expert judgment made by project manager or some key stakeholders. So you discuss them, and based on the expert judgment, you identify what is the probability, what is an impact, and based on probability and impact, you probably create a rank of a risk. Sometimes you also call risk exposure, and we find out which risks are more critical, which risks are less critical. You may define them high category, very high category, moderate category, low category, based on the assessment of probability and impact. Now, how do you put an impact? How do you say that this is a high impact, low impact? That will be guided by risk management plan. So as per your organization standard, as you agreed with your PMO, with the help of a risk management plan, you need to rank these things. So you do that, and based on that, you can say I have a risk register which is categorized into very high, medium, low, because we have done a probability and impact matrix. In many projects, this will be good enough. You may mention in your risk management plan that we are not going to do anything beyond this for risk. It's a possibility. There is also a possibility in your risk management plan. You tell if something goes beyond this level, if some risks are becoming very high, now you define what is the meaning of very high, then probably we need to have a more structured, fact-oriented analysis of it. We need to go for quantitative analysis. So say somebody will say, there is a risk of exchange rate fluctuation. You see the exchange rate fluctuation can happen, and this can put us in a trouble. It's a very high impact. Now your management will say, oh, give me an impact little bit in the numbers. How much dollar we will lose if the exchange rate fluctuate more than 10%, 15%, 20%. And give me a scenario where for the first 6 months it is 10% fluctuation, and the later 6 months it's a 20% fluctuation. So how it impacts the project budget? What is the dollar impact? So you'll say, okay, let me do a simulation here. Probably I need to create some 3-4 versions of my project budget. One project version budget is based on current exchange rate. Another project version is 10% fluctuation, and we just put a blanket 10% fluctuation. Another one is for 6 months 10%, another 6 months 20%, and then we are saying that this is a situation, this is how our cost will get impacted if exchange rate fluctuate like this. So this is called an example. This is one of the example of quantitative risk assessment. From a PMP exam perspective, they are not going much detail in quantitative risk assessment, but in a PMBOK 6 and other material, you do learn that techniques like expected monetary value, decision tree analysis, and simulation and Monte Carlo simulation, these are the things which can be used for doing such kind of assessment. But in a simple word, you can say we do it and we try to find out what is the number impact of a particular event. Now, somebody will say, why we are doing that much detail? It is unnecessary. So probably management will want to decide, should we buy this exchange or a foreign currency in advance? Yeah, now putting the purchase in advance will be blocking the money, or they may want to go to a bank and say, we want to buy the currency in advance and we will give you a fee so that you can give us a fixed rate. Bank will take a fee because they are taking care of the risk. Yeah, you are transferring the risk. So in order to identify, is it required transfer? Is it required mitigation? Or is it something we can accept? But it is such a risk where the subjective judgment is not enough. We want to have some kind of mathematical calculation. Then we do a quantitative risk analysis. In some cases, you may have a compliance requirement to produce a quantitative risk assessment for some of the risks which are crossing a particular threshold as defined in your risk management plan. So we call it qualitative and quantitative assessment. Now, ultimately, what do you need to do? You need to respond to this risk. So that's the main thing. Major questions will come around response part. Yeah, you need to plan risk responses. So say I need to plan risk responses for negative risk and for positive risk. The idea of negative risk is I need to do something so the negative impact can be minimized. So my first course of action would be that I would try to avoid the risk. I can say what we do so that this risk does not occur. We just reduce the probability of this risk occurring to zero. So that is called avoid. Avoid, maybe you have a technology which is unstable. You decide not to use that technology. You can say we are not using it. It is too much. Avoid. You may have a particular requirement which looks little vulnerable to security threats. You negotiate it with the stakeholders and says this requirement we are not even meeting. We are not doing it. We are removing it from a project scope. So now the security vulnerability related risk is over because the source has been removed. Those are the example of avoid. You can imagine that there will be limited opportunities for avoid. You can't avoid all the risk, else you end up doing nothing. Yeah? One of the way of avoiding all the risk is not to do a project. Yeah? So most likely you cannot avoid many of the risks, but some of them which is unnecessary coming and you have an alternative path, you probably will be able to avoid. So that's the first strategy usually you avoid, you apply. After that, you figure out what do? We could not avoid this particular risk, but it's a big. So you probably want to mitigate the risk. Usually as a project manager, we spend most of the time mitigating risk. Now, what is mitigating? You are doing something proactively to reduce the probability or the impact of the risk. So for example, tomorrow it can rain. So I can't do much about the probability. It's a weather thing. So probability of risk, I can probably monitor with the help of weather forecast, but I can't change it. But I can probably do it impact. Probably I can say, okay, for the next week, we are planning indoor activities, or we have an outdoor activity, but we are planning if the rain will come, we will have some cover which will support us to remain efficient, maybe 70% efficient, even if it is raining outside. So you are planning things in advance. Probably you are procuring those cover material for tomorrow. Even if it is not raining, you are spending some money to get those cover because you are planning that if something will go, we will use these covers and still we will do the project as per our plan, and we will save some of the impact which might happen if we miss this kind of cover planning for tomorrow. Now there may not be rain. Even if it is not raining, still you have those cover purchased. Yeah, so there's a investment you are doing, and that is called the mitigation. So doing something proactively to reduce either probability or an impact is called mitigation. Now, assuming these two things were there, but you think about rather than mitigate, why don't I give this risk to someone else? Probably I will say this all outdoor activity can be outsourced. And I don't want to take a pain of rain, not rain. If rain will happen, the vendor will suffer. Why should I suffer? They are not very critical activity and vendor can take care of it. Okay. Then probably you will say, okay, this is an important information. I can probably go and let my vendor handle it, and we will have an outsourced contract with him and we just enjoy. That is called transfer. So you have transferred the risk to someone and that particular person is owning that particular risk now. They will definitely take a money for it. They will take some extra money and they will make their judgment. They will make their profit margin out of it, but that's a transfer strategy. So usually from PMP exam perspective, transfer involves someone outside your project, maybe going to another project or another department, or many times going beyond your organization, vendor or insurance or some third party is usually getting involved in case of transfer strategy. Then you can have an escalation. You can say, oh, this risk is too much. I think I as a project manager can't handle it. This is beyond my level. This is beyond my pay scale. I need to tell my management to do something about it. That's called escalate. For a PMP exam perspective, don't escalate until unless the question clearly indicate that this risk has crossed the threshold which has been agreed in a risk management plan, which triggers escalation. So because my boss expects me to take care of the problems rather than keep going and delegating my work to my boss. I should not be delegating my work to my seniors. But at the same time, my seniors also expect if something is crossing the threshold, you must inform us because we can probably do something. You may not have the access to those information, but we can do something about it. So we need to be escalating when there is a clear trigger. But if there is no clear trigger, we don't do the escalation. So these are some of the response strategy we use, and there could be an acceptance strategy where we'll say, let's live with this risk. We'll figure it out. Usually you don't accept the risk until unless they are not very low in priority or low in criticality. So this also comes from your risk management plan. So in a risk management plan, you will define what kind of risk can be accepted. You can't decide as a project manager, I will accept all the risk. So you can say probably you need to have an agreement with the stakeholder first that even such kind of risk we are accepting and we are not doing anything about it. If they agree, then you do it. Then it's an approach because there could be a risk where there could be a project where you have a lot of risks. So something like this can help you in taking care of negative risk responses. I just take one more and then I take query. I see there are questions already. So finally, positive risk responses. The whole approach of positive risk response is let's make this opportunity reality. So in the negative risk, I'm trying to avoid it. I'm trying to reduce the impact of it. In the case of positive risk, I want to maximize the impact of it. So we go reverse, because we want to exploit the opportunity. So we use the word exploit to make the opportunity reality. There's an exploit part of it. Sometimes you feel you alone cannot make it reality. You may partner with some, let's say, let's do a joint venture. Let's find some other project manager, some other project team, and we both will attack this opportunity and 50-50 or some percentage will share. That's a strategy, we call it share. So you try to first exploit. If you can't do a lone win, then you do a party win. Assuming you can't find out sharing mechanism also, then you try to do some kind of intervention so it enhances the opportunity. So maybe not today, maybe after 1 month I can make it happen. So you are doing something proactively by way of putting some effort in that direction. But as of now, you are unable to exploit, but you are hoping that after a month or so, you will be able to do it. That is called enhance. Sometimes you can say, let's live with it. We don't know if it will happen, else we are not worried about it, accept. And sometimes you need to go to a boss. You can say it's a great opportunity, but I don't have a power to exploit it. But you probably want to look at it as per our risk management plan. This is something requires your attention. So boss, please take care of it. Then you do an escalation. So these all are a super brief crash course on predictive life cycle risk management, which I am putting it here. And this is not a one-time activity. So you need to track the risk all the time. Don't assume that I have made a risk register and my job is over as a project manager. Whatever risk you made in a risk register will require update at some point frequently. There could be a new risk which are emerging. The old risks, some of them may become reality. You need to remove them. They are no more risk. They are issues now. You need to transfer them to a issue log. So we need to do a continuous update and we need to do a continuous reporting as per our risk management plan for our risk. So it is something which is happening on an ongoing basis. In general, all project management activities are ongoing basis. We can't just say that this is something is one time only. Now we do have some questions here about agile risk and other. So I will take one by one, but we do have a separate session which I did here. I only focus on agile risk management. That was done, I think, few weeks ago. If you want to get more details, I will recommend you to check it out. But we will talk about questions one by one here. So here it is the question. If the question is not mentioning agile, non-agile, predictive, hybrid, what is your approach? Hybrid, simple. Everything is hybrid. What is the meaning of hybrid? as discussed in a previous session, any tool I can use provided it solves my project problem. Yeah. So I don't say, oh, this project is, I'm not sure, it's a hybrid or agile. I will not use risk register here. Probably the question is asking about risk. If the question is asking about risk and there is a solution in a risk register, without thinking anything, you pick up a risk register, because it could be a hybrid project which might have agile also or non-agile. Everyone can use a risk register. So by default, it's hybrid, which means look at a problem. Now it's very unlikely that you have a 2 candidate option which tells, so it is very unlikely you are saying, where do you put requirement in your project? Yeah, that kind of question. And the one option is requirement document and another option is product backlog. Definitely you can't answer that question. Yeah. But if the same question is coming and it is saying, where do you put your requirement in the project? And option is only having product backlog, then you have a sprint backlog, then you have a risk management plan, and then you have a quality management plan. Definitely you put a product backlog. You don't have to think it's agile or non-agile, because out of 4 options, there is only one option which talks about where to store a requirement. So please don't worry about questioning mentioning the life cycle. The question in a PMP exam only get completed when we see the options. So when I see the options and only one option talks about requirement storage, I just choose that. Yeah. So, and you should be able to find it out and you can practice those kind of questions. It is not going to be much difficult. There could be 1 or 2 weird questions in the PMP exam. Don't worry, you will still score above target even with these kind of understanding. Okay, so what is the difference between qualitative and quantitative? I think this was an old question, so I explained, I guess. Yeah, so we majorly said the quantitative is number-based, fact-based, data-based. Qualitative is subjective. I think it can fluctuate. That's a qualitative analysis. I have a data which tells that if that there is a trend coming from a stock exchange that is going to fluctuate. Then you have a quantitative, and if it happens, this much dollar impact will happen. Yeah, so dollar impact rather than high impact, dollar impact is a quantitative analysis. Now, how do you update a risk management plan as a new risk emerges or existing risk changes? So please be clear. If you are thinking this question and thinking about PMP exam, you probably will choose a wrong option. If the new risk is coming, the risk management plan has nothing to do with it. Yeah. The risk management plan only tells what do you do with the new risk. Yeah. But you don't store the new, you don't have to update the risk management plan for a new risk. What you have to update is risk register. So you have a risk register, which is a live document, you keep adding it. Now your risk management plan may guide you that how frequently you need to do the review of a risk register, when do you update it, who all get notified when you are updating the risk register, if you have a new risk, in a which particular report you have to report those new risks to the stakeholder. That guidance is coming from a risk management plan. But whenever the new risk is coming, you will assess and put into a risk register. Now what do you do after that? You need to face the reality. Now you have a new probability. It was not looking like it is going to rain tomorrow, but now we have a weather forecast and it is saying it can rain tomorrow, and we never thought about it. What do? I need to deal it today. Yeah. I can't say, oh, 1 month ago when I was doing project planning, we never planned this risk, so how can I plan it today? That is not the right thing. So I plan. No, probably I don't have a money to do something about it as of now, but I will go to my stakeholder or I will work out something and says, there is a possibility of losing this much money if we don't do some proactive work, or we can spend some money because the rain forecast is like this, and we can save our project objective because we have a probable risk coming tomorrow. What is my goal? Saving money for my company, saving my project objective. Now, by not doing risk identification, I have a bigger impact. That's why I'm doing it and taking care of it. I'm just not doing for a fun to record something in a risk register. So that's the mindset. We should keep it in our project management perspective. So how do we assess the prioritize the risk in a predictive hybrid approaches? Assessment of the risk is same. Yeah, there is no different thing. It is all about talking to the stakeholders and putting the probability and impact. The only difference is it can be done in the backlog refinement meeting. It can be done more frequently because in the Agile world, we are doing continuous collaboration. So our Agile approach, as we discussed in our previous episode, talks about organic risk management because we are taking small steps. So whatever we'll do, we will come to know after 2 weeks. We'll see it together. And we see it together, we discuss it, we talk about what can go wrong, we will probably have a discussion around that, and we put an action item around it. So it is discussed in an iteration review, it is discussed in a backlog refinement meeting, you reprioritize your product backlog based on those discussion. You may want to record it in a risk register, you may not want to do it, you may just want to discuss it and put it into put the impact of it, not a risk, put the impact of it in a product backlog. That's a possibility. And the sprint level risk, because in the agile way of working, we need to talk about two levels of risk management: iteration / sprint level and beyond a sprint level. The sprint level risks are always discussed in our daily stand-up, and we need to find out that if something can go wrong which can derail our sprint goal, we need to talk about it on a daily basis. But overall, it's again a risk is an uncertain event which remain uncertain event, even agile and non-agile. Risk is something which is probable, it is remain probable. It is something which will have an impact, which will have an impact. So any assessment of the risk is always associated with probability and impact. Now, there is a highly likelihood we may not go for quantitative risk assessment in the case of agile way of working, most likely, because it's a small feedback loop. If something goes wrong, we will anyway come to know. So it is usually a subjective judgment-based discussion on the risk will be good enough, and we'll figure it out what do we do as per our sprint planning or our the overall backlog refinement. New items will get added. Okay, so can you please talk about integration management as a PMP exam point of view? So in our PMBOK 6 or those topics, we have a big integration management lesson. Now, overall, one of the job of a project manager is making sure all the project plans are coming together and they are consistently helping us in achieving project objective. And this is something, the usual PMI belief is, this is something is a primary responsibility of a project manager. It is something the project manager probably cannot delegate. I can't say that, guys, you will figure it out, I won't integrate. So what is the integration? If I have a training plan for my developer, engineer, it should be visible in project schedule. It should be factored in the project cost. It should be factored in the person's development plan. It should not happen, I have a training plan saying that engineer will go for training. I have a project schedule saying this guy will work today on this particular item, and our cost budget is saying that we are allocating this guy to something else. Then we don't have an integration. So since we are planning the various components of the projects, I might be thinking about scope, I might be thinking about scheduling, I might be thinking about resource allocation. Then I'm thinking about individual development also. I'm thinking about mitigating some risks also. All has to get integrated. It should not happen. We have identified a risk and we said, we need to have some kind of planning for cover area for the monsoon season, and we need to do that. I put into a risk register as a response strategy, mitigation. But when I see my procurement order, there is no order for purchasing those material. When I see a project schedule, there is no item which talks about checking those items and making it ready available for that particular month. Then I'm failing as an integration. So overall, the meaning of integration is all elements of our project plans remain consistent. That's a project integration management. Now, it's not a one-time job. It's a continuous job. Because things keep changing, new risks will keep coming, the person will take a holiday, they will have unscheduled leaves, the person may resign from the project team, all these things will keep coming. So as soon as the new things comes, I have to still integrate. So as a project manager, my role is keep integrating various elements of my project, and it's a continuous thing. When it comes to a change, someone asks for a requirement change, someone asks for change of the vendor, someone may ask for change of the team member, I still need to do integrated view. I can say, okay, if you are changing a vendor, I need to think about cost, I need to think about the timelines, I need to think about the relationship between my team and that vendor. And after looking at the holistic approach, I will go forward and do the things. So that's integration management. Technically speaking, it just binds all the elements of the project from the beginning till end. And this is something which is a caretaker of the complete project life cycle. It starts from starting the project and it finishes at a project closer. And as a project manager, I need to ensure all these elements remains integrated till we touch the project closer. So that's the integration management. Integration, we'll see. That could be a thing. We can see. But I think we had a thing. But we can explore. We'll see. So Scrum Master is a good role for future-wise. As a person, I don't enjoy coding. I have a 3 years of experience as a tester, and now I am a Scrum Master. Great. So if you are enjoying being a Scrum Master, Good. I would say that not to focus too much on the title, but focus on the activities and the competencies. So it's a leadership role. So you are a leader who is helping the team to get things done. And you are enjoying facilitating, supporting the team, a leadership work. You are enjoying developing your soft skills. You are enjoying growing people so that they can take care of their conflicts themselves. You are enjoying by way of facilitating the decision making, you can create a high performing team. That is something you are doing. Now, today you may call yourself Scrum Master. Tomorrow you may call yourself maybe Agile Lead. And maybe day after tomorrow, you may call yourself project manager. Maybe some other additional activities may get changed and added. That is something will keep happening. But focus on what you do. And I would say the leadership role has a future. Yeah. Probably a particular title, they keep coming and going. Yeah. Because there was a time where project manager was more asked. There was a time where Scrum Master was more asked. There could be a time where now again the project manager is more asked. So these things keeps changing. But overall, the leadership, the ability to lead a team, ability to grow people, ability to make them focused on deliverable, that remain consistent. When we talk about PMP exam, we have a 42% focusing on people domain, which is all about working with the stakeholder, working with the team and growing them, which is also a role of a Scrum Master as a team leader, as a servant leader. So that's something we continue. So I think it's a great way to learn about the leadership role. And I think that answers your second question also. If you focus on developing leadership skills and leadership role, then you don't have to worry about the titles. You probably will keep changing them. As you see the new hype or new word is becoming popular, you will pick it up. Yeah, but grow in the that particular area, which is more about people development. Yeah. So usually the project manager is becoming more popular nowadays, or the project manager is getting added along with the Scrum Master role nowadays, usually, but that is something you can say. Yeah. So that's the answer. So usually the project management skills are good addition on top of your people skills. They are just addition. They are nowhere conflicting. And they are more useful if you are working in the organizations who are doing work for others, like a service-based organization. Then project management skills are good. If you are working in a product-based organization and you are coming from testing background, then you probably want to invest into product skills, product ownership, requirement, business analysis skills. Those things can also help you in growing, because you are saying the technology is not your interest area. So mix all this and create a path. But yes, more and more individuals are expected to be multi-skilled now, T-shaped professional. Earlier, we were only hoping the engineers will be a T-shaped professional and Scrum Master may not be that much. But now there is a good amount of focus to leaders also to be a multi-skilled. And as a leader, I understand I have a people skill, I have a management skills, I have a domain skills, and I will grow in those directions. From a PMI perspective, they tell any project manager as a leader, you need to develop skills in 3 areas: the business, process, and people. PMP exam hardly cover a very superficial layer of these 3 skills. You can't say that once I have done a PMP, I know the process domain well, I know the people domain well. You just get some surface understanding. But in order to really become a successful project manager, the surface understanding has to be grown further. So you get a seed of people management, you get a seed of emotional intelligence, you get a seed of managing motivation of individuals, but you need to still practice it. Similarly, you get a seed of what is requirement document, what is user story, but you have to create yourself. If you are finding difficulty to write a user story, create a scope statement, create a requirement management plan, you will face difficulty as a project manager. But PMI is not testing you. They are not giving you a case study and saying, come back and show me work breakdown structure for this requirement. They are not doing that detailed analysis of any individual, but that is something we need to do. And if you follow us on LinkedIn, I try to give you more additional material, which is more pointing to growing you as a project manager rather than just focusing on the PMP exam. So those documents are good to keep track of. Okay, so that's there. Okay, looks like I am done with the questions came till now. Yeah, so I can see, and I do see that hopefully there is no comment coming from the LinkedIn. That much is looks like. Sometimes the LinkedIn comments takes time to reach me. Yeah, that's a little trick also, but looks like it is working. Yeah, looks like. Let's see. Okay, so there is a question. Is it fine if I don't do coding in my career? I don't want to get into coding, but at the same time stay in the IT industry so that I can continue being a Scrum Master. Is here? Is that the question? Yeah, that's the question you are saying. I think it was a little time. Yeah. So my last question, please answer it now. I think this is the question, I assume. So see, what is software industry? It is about solving business problems with the help of some kind of logics, apps, website. That's the industry. Now, in order to give that value, in order to deliver that value, what all competencies are coming together? So definitely there is a competency of doing the work, which seems to be very clearly. Coding is definitely a competency. There is a competency of understanding what customer needs and converting the customer needs into the design, which can really produce value. So business analysis, requirement understanding, customer understanding is a thing. And it also, once you really produce something, analyzing the market potential, so good amount of business analysis work is also needed. Then you have a role of integrating the energy of everyone. What is management? Yeah, what is the leadership role? We need to inspire and integrate and align everyone to produce the project objective. Now, anything you do, you have a doing, you have an integration work, and you have a requirement work, you have an analysis work, and there could be other things also, depending upon industry. There could be a security, there could be a networking, there could be a compliance, there could be various elements. All these elements come together, depending upon the context, produce value. Yeah. Now, I am a leader. Can I just stick to facilitating and integrating effort? That could be one choice. Or do I want to be a contributor in some aspect of software development? Usually, it is safe to have at least two areas. You can definitely a good integrator, contributor, but what else? Yeah. So there could be else thing. Maybe you can say I can contribute in test architecturing. If you are working on a complex system where the test is very complicated, probably that's a contribution. You can focus on deployment work. That could be a contribution. You can focus on business analysis. Usually people who are doing project management, they do some amount of requirement and customer handling as well. So as per my interest, as per my experience, I need to grow my skills. One skill I can see which you are clearly focusing on is a leadership and people development skill. What else? That you need to figure it out. Yeah. My suggestion could be a business analyst or test skills, depending upon your history. Yeah. Okay, so hopefully this was that question which you were asking, if I get it right here. Yes. In the meantime, I check if something is happening in a LinkedIn. No. Okay. Looks like there is nothing coming from LinkedIn. Hopefully the LinkedIn is also streaming my feed. Yeah, but it is not a comment. Okay, so if there is any follow-up query on any of these topics, we can talk and we can say. Yeah, that's a great point, Wesley. Yeah. So Wesley is sharing a insight and saying, that nowadays there is expectation of Scrum Master or Project Manager to do a data analysis like SQL, Python. And I think this SQL Python may get replaced to AI-based data analysis tool. Nowadays, the life is far simpler. But after doing analysis, interpretation is the key. Yeah? So you Power BI and AI and all these things are there. But with the help of AI-based data analysis tool, the mental critical thinking is becoming more important rather than the Excel skills or accumulation of data. So yes, and that seems to be a key activity for any manager. I would say I use the word manager rather than leader, because we need to inform the stakeholders about what is happening in our project in the most effective manner. And many a time that effective manner requires presenting the facts and figures in co-relationship with other things, make a graphical presentation so they are easy to consume and people can take quick actions around it. So great point. That's a good skill. Add it, we can pick it here. When do I come live session. Mostly I do every Friday. Mostly there could be some exceptions here and there, but mostly we do this timings as we started today. Mostly we do this timings. Yeah. Okay. So great. These are the queries which we explored here. I just take a pause for some more second. So next topic we will explore. I am thinking there are 2-3 options. Integration management also came as a suggestion, but for a PMP exam, integration management is not that much critical nowadays. It's just as much I explained. It is just about keeping everything integrated. That something is the thing. Yeah. We'll see. MP. Go ahead, Chirag. You have a question? Go ahead, please. Type it. We'll see if I can find some answer. In the meantime, if anyone has a query, please put it. I know it takes few seconds to reach the question to me. Anything testing related in PMP? So testing is a verification and validation, and we do have a quality management area. The quality management is not doing the testing, but about doing quality planning using tools like control chart, Pareto analysis, focusing on scatter diagram, focusing on like a control, like a root cause analysis. So that kind of understanding is getting tested for a project manager, because project manager is a leadership and management role. So you should be able to see the trends of the data, as we got a nice input, because data analysis is a part of it. So that kind of content is there. Rest, you need to understand what is verification and what is validation. So that's something is definitely needed. Yeah. Okay, so what are your views on Scaled Agile? The framework is very complex. I'm really not able to go through each and everything in the website. Can one relate, understand it? So the Scaled Agile is a good aggregation of various management theories. It's a bigger superset. I usually give a metaphor, like there were 20-30 books on telling you how to run the organization, how to manage software development, how to integrate work, how to align with the leadership. And these Scaled Agile people have integrated all of them and created a big guide out of it. So it's a big guide which is expected to take care of the organization problem. So it is expected to be a little heavy, because it's a big guide. It is solving the big problems, scaling problem of Agile. So that's why it is big. Now, how do I learn it? If I go to scaledagileFramework.com and start clicking everywhere and get it, it will be complicated. It will be probably a waste of energy. What possibly you can do, you can watch some of our videos. We have around 50 plus videos, but we start with 7 basic essential safe video. There is a playlist, you can say essential safe, Eisenbridge, you will get those 7 videos. If you understand those basic terminologies, then probably you want to go through a program for a safe. So there are leading safe or a safe Scrum Master. You need to choose appropriate one. If you are working as a Scrum Master in a safe environment, you go for safe Scrum Master program. If you are working as a manager, you understand management theories, and you are going to play a role in safe implementation as a leader, then you go for leading safe. So that is something you can do it, and that will be a good idea. So in our today's world, if someone is working in the Agile environment, knowing as a senior management level, understanding of the overall context, knowing safe is usually a basic requirement. Knowing. Now, after knowing, you decide you want to use it or not, and one can start with our video and then can also enroll to our classes. I keep running safe classes every month, more or less. Next week, we have a safe product management product owner class, and then we will have a leading safe class also soon. So what are the hard skills the project manager should have? So first you go for 35 areas. So 35 skills as per the PMP exam. You have a business domain, you have a people domain, you have a process domain. That's something you need to focus. Yeah. And you need to make a list out of it. The technical skills, hard skills, depending upon the context. But as many of you pointed out, data analysis skill is usually needed. Business analysis skill is usually needed. Yeah, ability to manage project management information system, PMIS kind of things like MS Project, Primavera, or Jira, those kind of tools are usually needed. And then some amount of technological overview usually needed if you are working at a technical leadership level project management. So exact job description, any job description you can open on a job site, which will give you an idea, but it varies from area to area. You need to see the area which belongs to you. For PMP exam, don't worry about SAFE. Yes, I understand. In our PMI authorized content, they mention skilled agile somewhere here and there. But whenever they give a reference, they usually do little bit misinterpretation of what is really SAFE is asking you to do. So don't worry, don't worry. There could be a reference of some kind of a meeting like a big room planning meeting or Scrum of Scrum meeting. There is a remote possibility. So when you learn about Scrum of Scrum, you can say multiple agile teams are coming together and it's the integration activity. It's an integration of our effort and we are moving forward with that. That much information is good enough. And then sometimes they use a word big room planning. Even for program management certification, they can use the big room planning as a word or a PI planning as a word. So you understand it's a big planning meeting where we bring multiple teams together to plan the work for the future. Nothing beyond that is expected to come from scaling of agile related topic in our PMP exam. Yeah. Good. So good interest on SAFE at the end. Yes, we are pretty commonly running SAFE classes and you do have videos to check. 50 plus videos and there are a lot of conversation around SAFE. I have a special videos explaining various SAFE roles, product owner role, Scrum Master role, release train engineer role, and all those things are available on our YouTube channel. Yeah. So please make a good use of it. We can still take one or two questions if anyone has. I just take a pause if we get something. So I am really worried Scrum Master role will give me a bright future, or will you suggest me to role that I can go into the future? It's a decision you have to take. I think nobody can suggest you. You need to take a decision based on your competency. Each competency has a requirement, but all requirements are at an excellence level. That's there. Usually, if you excel in any area, you have a scope. Now, sometimes if the trend is moving with a moderate skill also, I can make money because there is a big market. When the market is not big, then with moderate skill, I won't be able to make money. That's anyway there. But finding that big market and even with a moderate skill, I can make money is a guessing game. So usually you need to keep few moderate skills and few specialized skills. Specialized skill will give you a growth because even if they need few people, you are there, you are specialized in that area. A difficult call, just a 1 day learning, 2 day learning, or a PMP certification cannot solve that problem. It depends upon the interest, the personality, the overall experience, and then I need to find some guessing game. The overall agile is inspect and adapt, so you can't make everything final. You need to learn, you need to experiment a month or two, then change, then change, then change. Adapting is the answer. Getting the right answer is not the answer. Yeah, that's what we are learning in a project management as well. Yeah. Okay, so here we are about to close our conversation. Thanks to we got to see some of the LinkedIn comment as well. Great, yeah, thank you. So it means it was working and my comments were reaching there. So that was a nice info. So is the Scrum Master role is a good role? Very difficult to tell. Yeah. Because Scrum Master role in a one company and Scrum Master role in another company may vary 70%. Yeah. So you need to find out what is the competency, not a title. Is a project manager is a good role? Depends. What is the underline under project manager? Yeah. So if you focus on details, you know that I am picking up 20 skills which are usually asked in various jobs, then you are good. But if you only put on the label people give to that particular 5 skills, then we are in a little danger. Yeah, so details. Yeah, so that something is important. Don't go to a title called ABC. Yeah. Scrum Master, Agile Coach, Project Manager, Team Leader, Technical Manager. They vary. Yeah. So we need to get into competency. But yes, leadership has a role, and anyone having leadership competency will get rewarded in the future. Yeah, so that's Wesley's nice point sharing. So product manager, project manager, program manager, portfolio manager, all these roles can be converted from Scrum Master. They are usually different depending on the companies. Yes, so you can say you may have a title Scrum Master, but some amount of program management is attached to it. Some amount of product management is attached to it. Some amount of project management is attached to it. So yeah, these all are there, and one can grow, yeah, from the pure team leadership role, if I call it Scrum Master, team leadership role, to a bigger leadership role. So it's a leadership role. So the whole essence is, do I want to get into a leadership role or do I want to get into a contributor role? Contributor role, I do something myself. Leadership role, I facilitate, I align, I influence and get things done. Now, in a middle manager level, I need to have a contributor and leadership role. If I start going beyond a middle manager role, I will have a less and less individual contribution made, but my more contribution will be done by way of channelizing the energy, integrating everyone towards a common direction. Now, that's a leadership role. And the title will probably, from a Scrum Master, my title may become a program manager. There is a possibility because my major focus is becoming alignment, benefit realization, governance, and strategic goal achievement. So I can say I started with a team leadership, but I reached to a program management. And beyond that, I may just focus on pure strategy and I may get into a portfolio management. So that's a possibility depending upon area of interest and the opportunities we get in our work. Okay, great discussion. Thank you. Thank you for your contribution as well. Many of you shared ideas, and we'll do another session soon. We'll see what are the topics. We'll schedule it soon in a day or two. But yes, it was a great session. Thank you, everyone. Bye for now. See you next week. Yeah. Bye, everyone.